studios of ITN, the early evening news with John Suchet.
Good evening. The E. coli outbreak got worse today with 2 more children taken to hospital. That means 19 people are now affected, some with kidney problems. Another 8 have the symptoms. Some of the victims are in isolation. Health officials at the scene of the outbreak in Cumbria fear the infection could spread even further. Sue Saville reports.
This is the source of the E. coli food poisoning outbreak. Scales Farm at Brigham near Cockermouth produces milk for 300 households in the area. Farmer William Thompson won't comment on the scare. 2 environmental health orders have been served on his farm to stop production here and enable his milk to be pasteurised elsewhere. Elsie Ferguson's husband is one of the E. coli victims.
I was absolutely stunned. You don't think of these things. It's such a frightening word in this day and age when they say, E. coli. But I felt much happier after seeing him yesterday.
The fear in this community is that the E. coli outbreak here could prove fatal, like one in Lanarkshire 2 years ago when 21 people died.
It's a serious outbreak. This is an infection that causes immense public concern and anxiety after the outbreak in Lanarkshire. But as it stands currently in Cumbria, I don't think we're facing something of those proportions, but we're taking it very seriously indeed.
Children at Brigham Primary School have found personal hygiene now included in their lessons and prayers.
Help me to remember to look after myself by keeping clean and remembering to wash my hands all the time. Amen. They do have a good understanding of what germs are and how they're passed on. If you don't explain properly to a child, then they might wonder about the reason for your instructions.
At all the schools in the area, the issue now is how to contain the E. coli outbreak, hoping no more cases develop. Sue Saville, ITN, Brigham in Cumbria.
Sue, what's the latest on those who are affected?
Well, this afternoon, John, we've heard that 1 more case is suspected. Of those who are still in hospital, 12 are in Whitehaven, 6 adults, 6 children. One of the adults is said to be poorly, the others are stable. 3 other children have been taken over to Newcastle Royal Infirmary, and at least one of them is having dialysis for kidney problems.
And Sue, what's being done to contain this outbreak?
Well, we saw that at the farm measures are being taken. The milk has been confiscated from there. Scientists are now looking at the process to see what has gone wrong with the pasteurisation. We saw too about the health campaign in the schools and in the whole community here. There's also concern about the incubation process because with E. coli, the bacterium, it can take 1 to 6 days to incubate. There could still be more cases and people can pass the bacterium and the infection between themselves without actually showing symptoms. So the health authority has been telling us this afternoon they're looking at all the measures they can to make sure they contain this and it doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Sue. Next on the early evening news, trade war, Madeleine Albright flies in for an emergency summit. Lord Denning, the People's Judge, dies at the age of 100. And one small step nearer to the rocket man's dream. The US Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, is due to fly into Britain tomorrow for emergency talks with Robin Cook over the banana dispute. The move is the latest twist in a row which could lead to a full-scale transatlantic trade war. Jo Andrews reports.
The banana row involves thousands of jobs in Britain and in the Caribbean and is testing the normally close relationship between Britain and America. America wants Europe to stop giving preferences to bananas produced by the former French and British colonies in the Caribbean and lift quotas on cheaper South American bananas produced by companies that pump a great deal of money into American politics.
We're talking about Caribbean islands which can't do anything else except grow bananas. We're talking about the United States where no bananas are grown in continental United States. And we're talking about islands which, if they are not allowed to grow bananas, in fact, will probably become drug havens.
The US now wants to impose big duties on Scottish cashmere, amongst other things, taking the money in advance of the international ruling on this next month.
We greatly regret that the situation has come to this point. At the same time, the issue really is not about cashmere or bananas. It's about playing by the rules.
Tony Blair was on the phone to Bill Clinton last night to discuss this, and he says he'll be talking to him again shortly to try to sort it out. But it looks as though it's going to be a real test of their friendship. Jo Andrews, ITN, Westminster.
Lord Denning, the People's Judge and probably the best-known judge of the century, died today just a few weeks after his 100th birthday. The former Master of the Rolls was one of the most respected figures of his time. Tim Wilcox looks back at life.
Brilliant yet down-to-earth, Lord Denning was a magnificent but controversial giant of the legal world.
Most of you have heard my true record.
The man who never lost his Hampshire burr was for many the champion of the underdog and one of the greatest judges of all time.
You know what Shakespeare said? Oh, it's great to have a giant's strength, but it's tyrannous to use it like a giant.
He was a judge at the cutting edge of judicial inventiveness. Therefore, he was bound to be controversial. But when you look at the balance sheet of Lord Denning, my goodness me, the credit side is much higher than the debit side.
Born in 1899, Lord Denning was the son of a draper. After village, then grammar school, he took a triple first at Oxford.
I wanted to get on. Not interested in politics, but I could see that law, rather than commerce, law was a field in which I could get high. I wouldn't say how high.
He first made headlines in 1963 when he led the Profumo inquiry over the War Secretary's affair with Christine Keeler. As Master of the Rolls, he led from the front and disliked leaving things to Parliament. His unique personality and judgments made him one of the best-known judges of the 20th century. Tim Wilcox, ITN.
8 families accidentally named as police informants in the report into Stephen Lawrence's murder have asked to be rehoused. In the London area where Stephen died, one family has already moved out because they fear reprisals. 5 others are in the process of switching houses. 2 more have asked to be moved. A pensioner today told the Old Bailey how he saw 3 Jews shot dead by a policeman in Belarus who then pushed them into an open grave. The prosecution claimed that policeman was the former British Rail ticket collector Anthony Savoniuk. Shuli Ghosh reports.
Grey-haired Alexandre Baglai, seen here in the middle, says he was just 12 years old when he saw the defendant kill 3 Jews during the Second World War. He was living in Marchevo, a town under German occupation where almost the entire Jewish population was wiped out by the Nazis. To this day, a memorial stands at the site of the massacre. 77-year-old Savoniuk was a local at the time. He's accused of leading search and kill operations to eliminate Jews who escaped. In court, speaking through an interpreter, Alexandre Baglai told how, as a child, he and another boy were caught scavenging for clothes in a Jewish ghetto. Mr. Baglai, he and his friend, marched by whom he knew Russia, site where a group of 3 Jews were standing by a freshly dug pit. Savoniuk ordered the Jews to undress and then shot them one by one. The 2 boys were made to fill in the grave. Checked about the reliability of his memory, Mr. Baglai, he remembered the old
Families of the cable victims killed by the American Air Force today with anger and bewilderment. News that the American pilot flown by U.S. Richard slot cables in resort Lacey here. Bates report.
The Italian Prime Minister marched into the White House this morning to make President Clinton fully aware of his views on this case. Public opinion in Italy is outraged. The dead uncompromised.
I'm not